Imagine waking up one morning, touching a wall, and realizing your body is literally glued to the universe itself. No matter how hard life hits him, Peter always bounces back because he is the only line of defense standing between Brooklyn and total destruction. Meanwhile, over in Brooklyn, we meet Miles Morales, a teenage kid who is low-key struggling to figure out his own identity. His mom, Rio, is frantically yelling at him to get his life together and get ready for his elite prep school. Miles is frantically trying to delay the inevitable while ironing his shirt at the very last second. His dad Jefferson, a strict police officer, offers to drive him, but Miles desperately wants to walk to avoid looking uncool. Miles sneaks out the door to walk through his familiar neighborhood, greeting every local on his block. A neighbor asks if he felt the wild seismic quake from last night, but Miles claims he slept completely fine. Before he can escape, Jefferson intercepts him in his squad car, forcing Miles inside for a ride. Jefferson starts pointing out Miles's graffiti stickers left all over public property, calling him out instantly. They drive past trendy new coffee shops taking over their neighborhood, making his dad rant about gentrification. The radio breaks news about another mysterious seismic event, with reports stating Spider-Man is currently looking into it. Jefferson absolutely despises Spider-Man because the vigilante operates behind a mask while real cops put their lives on the line. He tries twisting Spider-Man's famous motto into his own dad lecture about real accountability. Miles complains about being forced into Vision's academy, claiming the elite school is completely out of touch with real people. But his dad reminds him that he earned his spot by passing the tough entrance exam fair and square. Jefferson warns Miles not to blow his potential and end up down a bad path like his estranged uncle, Aaron. As they pull up to the ultra-fancy prep school, Jefferson inflicts total psychological damage on his son. He refuses to unlock the car doors until Miles openly says, "I love you, Dad," over the police loudspeaker. Utterly humiliated in front of everyone, Miles surrenders and stammers out the confession just to escape. On his way inside, Miles meets another student rocking the exact same green jacket as him. He tries to play it cool by saying his untied shoelaces are a deliberate fashion choice, but it fails. Inside his high-level physics class, the teacher begins explaining theoretical particles and quantum mechanics. She posits that countless parallel universes could exist right alongside ours with slight variations. Miles arrives late, trying to hit the class with a quick Einstein joke to cover his tardiness. A mysterious blonde girl laughs at his joke, admitting it was nerdy enough to be funny. Miles realizes she is brand new to the school, immediately sparking his interest. Later, Miles gets back a physics test where he deliberately picked wrong answers to score a perfect 0. His teacher sees right through his sabotage attempt, knowing you have to actually know the right answers to fail completely. She refuses to let him quit and assigns him a personal essay about who he truly wants to become. Feeling overwhelmed by expectations, Miles sneaks off after hours to visit his cool Uncle Aaron. Aaron welcomes him in, ready to give his nephew some real-world advice. Miles admits there is a slick new girl at school, though he has zero idea how to actually talk to her. Uncle Aaron decides it is time to drop the ultimate Riz technique known as the shoulder touch. He demonstrates how to walk up, casually rest a hand on her shoulder, and drop a low-key smooth greeting. Miles tries to imitate the move, but his awkward delivery makes Aaron question his game entirely. Miles mentions needing a creative outlet, so Aaron takes him down into the underground subway tunnels. They sneak into an abandoned, hidden brick alleyway beneath the city streets that is perfect for street art. Miles is blown away by the massive walls full of history and wild artistic potential. Aaron encourages him to unleash his creativity and let his real personality express itself. Miles cooks up a breathtaking, colorful graffiti piece that captures his exact vibe. Aaron reveals that he and Jefferson used to tag walls together back in the day before his dad became a cop. While Miles admires their masterpiece, a strangely glitched arachnid drops down right behind him. The radioactive spider bites Miles on the hand, instantly altering his DNA on a cellular level. The next morning in his dorm, Miles wakes up feeling completely out of control. His body feels insanely hot, his internal thoughts are roaring, and he assumes he hit extreme puberty. He bumps into the new blonde girl in the hallway, sweating profusely and rambling insanely. She introduces herself as Gwanda, claiming her name is South African, leaving Miles confused. Miles decides right then to pull out Uncle Aaron's shoulder touch strategy to save face. But as soon as he places his hand on her shoulder, his palm gets violently stuck to her hair thanks to sticky powers. Panicking, Miles tries to pull away, but his hands are completely locked onto her head like superglue. Gwanda tries to stay calm as Miles cooks up a terrible plan to yank his sticky hand free by force. Miles yanks as hard as he can, accidentally ripping off a massive chunk of her hair in public. Mortified, Miles bolts down the corridor while feeling like every single student is judging his massive fail. Paranoia hits him like a truck as internal voices scream inside his mind while his hands stick to every surface. The security guard catches him sneaking back toward his dorm and starts chasing him down. Desperate to hide, Miles runs into an office, but his sticking abilities suddenly malfunction on the doors. He ends up stuck to the ceiling, frantically trying to stop his palms from clinging to walls. Escaping through the window, he scales the entire side of the building back into his room in a total panic. Miles grabs a Spider-Man comic book off his desk, frantically flipping through the pages to check Spidey's origin. He realizes with sheer terror that his wild symptoms match Spider-Man's exact abilities. He desperately tries calling Uncle Aaron for advice, but it goes straight to voicemail. Refusing to accept reality, Miles tries to convince himself that he is just a normal kid who got bit by a regular bug. He decides he must go back down to the subway tunnel to find the dead spider and prove his own sanity. Returning to the subterranean alley, he stumbles across the crushed spider glowing with weird glitching colors. Suddenly, a high-pitched buzzing sensation explodes inside his skull as his spider sense activates for the first time. The ground beneath him violently quakes as massive vibrations shake the underground structure to its core. Miles accidentally falls into a hidden subterranean facility deep beneath Brooklyn. In the middle of a massive machine, he spots Spider-Man engaged in a brutal fight against a giant green goblin. Kingpin's villainous scientists are powering up a super collider capable of ripping open the fabric of reality. Spider-Man locks eyes with Miles from across the room, instantly sensing that this kid has the exact same powers. Right in the middle of a literal apocalypse, Spider-Man is out here dropping quips like he is totally unbothered. Miles is freaking out in the shadows, but Peter Parker spots him instantly and low-key gives him main character energy advice. Peter promises to mentor Miles right after he finishes stopping the villain, giving the kid a ray of hope. The stakes are insanely high because if this massive super collider stays active, reality itself is cooked. Kingpin shows up flexing his ultra-expensive interdimensional superweapon with zero chill. The mad scientists fire up the device, turning the subterranean room into a chaotic vortex of visual madness. Multiverse portals start ripping open everywhere, proving this test is way too unstable to control. Peter grabs Green Goblin and violently shoves his massive face right into the roaring beam of energy. A massive explosion rocks the facility, leaving Spidey dangerously crushed under heavy wreckage. With his body severely broken, Peter hands Miles a USB override key that holds the fate of the entire city. He warns Miles to keep his secret identity hidden at all costs because Kingpin owns everyone in New York. Miles realizes that if he fails this mission, his family and his whole life will literally get wiped out. Peter begs the kid to finish the job before ordering him to run for safety. Kingpin stomps out of the smoke like an absolute final boss, ready to finish off our battered hero. Even facing total defeat, Peter low-key roasts Kingpin right to his gigantic face. Peter warns him that rebooting the super collider will create a literal black hole that swallows New York whole. Kingpin hits back with a cold threat, showing he cares way more about his personal obsession than cash. Without a second thought, Kingpin brutally crushes Spider-Man and orders his henchmen to cover up the crime. Prowler spots Miles spying from the shadows and instantly launches a ruthless manhunt after the terrified team. Miles escapes onto a subway train by the skin of his teeth, completely traumatized by what he just witnessed. He bursts into his parents' apartment totally shaken up, but has to act normal in front of his dad. Miles begs his family to let him stay home, completely overwhelmed by the crushing weight on his shoulders. He low-key tests his father by asking about his true feelings regarding the masked vigilante. Fearing the impending doom of the Super Collider, Miles desperately asks his mom about fleeing the city. His mother reminds him of their core values, unaware that Brooklyn is sitting on a massive ticking time bomb. His dad wants him to stay strong at school, totally unaware his son is low-key fighting for survival. The broadcast interrupts everyone to drop the absolute worst news imaginable to the whole city. The news formally announces that Spider-Man is officially dead, throwing all of New York into deep mourning. The whole world finally learns that the legendary hero was actually just a 26-year-old guy named Peter Parker. The report mentions his grieving family, leaving the entire city in absolute heartbreak. At a massive public memorial, Mary Jane delivers a tear-jerking speech about how normal Peter really was. Her words inspire millions, reminding the crowd that bravery lies within anyone willing to step up. Miles buys a cheap Spider-Man suit from a quirky costume shop owner who drops an insanely legendary line. Standing at Peter's snow-covered grave, Miles listens to the echoes of Mary Jane's speech while feeling completely unfit. The memory of Peter's heroic legacy puts insane pressure on Miles to honor his final promise. Miles stares at the headstone feeling like the entire city is watching his every move. He pulls out the Super Collider key and realizes he accidentally busted the tech, leaving him totally cooked. Miles breaks down at the grave, apologizing to the fallen hero because he feels like an absolute fraud. Out of nowhere, a mysterious stranger in a trench coat sneaks up behind Miles and startles him. We hit a quick flashback reset to meet this alternative version of Spider-Man. This guy is Peter B. Parker, an older, washed-up Spidey who has been doing this hero gig for 22 years. He was once the main character of his world, but life hit him with a brutal reality check. He lived through the fame, saved the day, got married, but eventually hit a massive rough patch. Bad financial choices and endless superhero stress completely destroyed his personal life and marriage. Despite being totally down bad and out of shape, he still clings to the fundamental code of Spider-Man. He rambles weirdly about animal biology to cope with the utter heartbreak of losing Mary Jane. His fear of commitment ruined his marriage, leaving him brooding alone in a messy apartment. He got sucked through an interdimensional rift straight into Miles' world right when the collider blew up. Peter B. Parker wakes up passed out at the graveyard, staring down a very confused teenager. Miles freaks out and accidentally zaps Peter B. with bioelectric venom blasts, knocking him stone cold unconscious. Cops spot Miles frantically dragging an unconscious adult man in a suit through the streets and start yelling. Panicking beyond belief, Miles hooks Peter B. onto the back of a speeding subway train to escape. Bystanders on the platform are utterly bewildered watching this absolute chaos unfold. Miles ties the passed-out hero up in an alley, insisting he is just trying to fix this mess. Peter B. wakes up sore and confused, realizing this random kid possesses bizarre bioelectric powers. Miles is totally baffled seeing a guy who looks like Peter Parker but has zero main character energy. Miles low-key roasts Peter B. for having a soft sweatpants gut instead of a superhero physique. Peter B. claps back, mocking Miles for wearing a cheap store-bought costume over his normal clothes. Miles connects the dots and realizes this guy is an alternate version of Spider-Man from a parallel world. He remembers his high school physics lessons on quantum theory, stunning the older hero. Miles begs Peter to train him, but the jaded veteran swindles him and steals back his web shooters. Suddenly, Peter starts glitching painfully because his cellular structure is rejecting this reality. The lazy veteran refuses to be a mentor and tells Miles to drop the hero act immediately. Miles mentions Kingpin, which instantly catches Peter B's full attention. Peter turns completely serious, realizing the collider is his only ticket back to his home dimension. Miles tells him the location, but warns that destroying it is the only way to save reality. Miles tries to impress upon him that the entire multiverse will implode if Kingpin turns it back on. Peter brushes off the total annihilation threat with arrogant, veteran-tier confidence. He demands the override key from Miles, giving the key a hilarious nickname. Miles threatens to literally eat the drive to prevent the lazy Spidey from ditching him. Peter inspects the drive and gets furious when he sees that the key is completely broken. He blames the teenager for ruining their only way home, venting his frustration like an annoyed dad. He realizes they now have to break into a high-security lab to remake the key from scratch. Miles hits him with the ultimate guilt trip stare, forcing the jaded veteran to finally step up. They take a pit stop at a diner, where Peter aggressively devours fast food while Miles tries to talk strategy. Instead of legendary wisdom, Peter drops absurdly practical and gross tips about wearing the suit. Miles looks up Alchemax's location on his phone, preparing for their secret break-in mission. Peter instantly vetoes Miles' costume choice, declaring that capes are a total rookie mistake. He forces the kid to take off the cape to look like a legitimate hero before they head out. Boarding the train upstate, the unlikely duo begins planning their high-stakes heist on Alchemax. Miles cooks up a wild 7-step heist plan on the fly to sneak straight into the high-tech Alchemax facility. He begs Peter Parker to teach him proper Spider-Man skills, but Peter low-key brushes him off with a sarcastic comment. Miles cannot believe he got saddled with the most washed-up, out-of-shape mentor in the entire multiverse. They sneak inside, but Miles panics and follows Peter right into the room, literally stepping on his toes. Miles refuses to chill outside like a sidekick because he refuses to let another hero perish on his watch. Suddenly, Kingpin and Dr. Olivia Octavius walk in, discussing how firing the Super Collider again could spawn a literal black hole under New York. Doc Ock pulls up chaotic data showing different realities actively crashing into each other right now. She warns Kingpin about a massive space-time rupture, giving off straight-up supervillain energy. Anxiety hits Miles like a truck, causing his hands to stick uncontrollably to the ceiling tiles while Peter tries to calm him down. To chill his nerves, Miles literally starts softly singing Sunflower while suspended mid-air in total peril. Out of pure stress response, Miles turns completely camouflage invisible, blowing Peter Parker's mind. An invisible Miles accidentally pokes Peter right in the eyeball in a moment of pure comedy gold. Peter decides to distract Doc Ock with his washed-up charm while Miles tries to memorize a ridiculously long desktop password. While Peter plays smooth talker, Miles desperately searches for the mainframe files to steal the Collider blueprints. Doc Ock turns around and instantly spots Peter Parker, utterly baffled because the news said Spider-Man was dead. She quickly inspects him and notices slight physical differences, realizing this is an alternate version of Peter Parker. But then she makes a terrifying discovery: Peter's cells are undergoing erratic dimensional glitching and rapid decay. Doc Ock chillingly reveals that staying in a foreign dimension will literally disintegrate Peter's body into nothingness. She drops her friendly scientist act and unspouts 8 giant mechanical tentacles, revealing she is Doc Ock. All chaotic mayhem breaks loose in the lab as Doc Ock launches a brutal, high-speed attack at Peter. Miles swings in out of nowhere to steal the actual desktop computer unit off the desk, shocking Doc Ock with his invisibility. Panicking under pressure, Miles tries to go invisible again on purpose, but his powers completely stall out. They make a chaotic dash through the cafeteria, where Peter nonchalantly snatches a bagel mid-chase like an absolute legend. Security guards flip out over a stolen pastry as the Spidey duo bursts into the hallway. Peter throws Miles into the deep end, ordering him to swing through the Alchemax forest to survive. Peter yells out that trauma and intense pressure are low-key the ultimate crash course for learning spider powers. Miles tries to run along the ground because his web shooting coordination is complete cooked trash. Peter drops a barrage of rapid-fire web-swinging tips that totally overwhelm poor Miles. Miles tells Peter to stop giving advice, and surprisingly, ignoring the noise actually helps him find his rhythm. Miles starts locking into the flow state, repeating whip and release as he glides through the trees. Peter hypes up his young prodigy as Miles successfully webs from branch to branch like a real hero. Peter tries taking credit for being an elite mentor right before Doc Ock comes crashing through the canopy with dual arm saws. Out of nowhere, a masked female web-slinger drops from the sky to slice Doc Ock's tentacles and save their skins. She unmasks herself as Gwen Stacy, kicking off her iconic backstory recap for the audience. In her universe, Gwen was bitten by a radioactive spider and served as the one and only Spider-Woman. After failing to save her best friend Peter Parker, Gwen closed off her heart to avoid the pain of loss. The Collider explosion ripped her through space and time, landing her in Miles's dimension a full week earlier. Her spider sense guided her straight to Vision's Academy, where she low-key infiltrated the school to track Miles down. Miles tries to play it smooth about her trendy hair undercut, but Gwen keeps it strictly business. Peter B. Parker is totally overwhelmed, wondering how many alternate spiders are running around this city. Gwen shuts down the chatter as they escape into the city with the stolen Alchemax computer. Meanwhile, Kingpin fumes in his office after realizing 2 new spider people just raided his secret lab. Doc Ock reassures Wilson Fisk that the Collider works and will pull his lost family back from another universe. Back in Brooklyn, the Spidey squad realizes the override USB drive, or Goober, got completely shattered during the escape. Miles shoots his shot to be friends with Gwen, but she coolly plays hard to get. Gwen hits him with a smooth response as they head to Forest Hills to find local resources. They arrive at May Parker's house, with Peter B. Parker feeling insanely anxious about seeing his dead aunt again. Aunt May opens the door and instantly recognizes that this washed-up, sweatpants-wearing Peter is from an alternate reality. She roasts Peter B.'s disheveled appearance without missing a beat, showing true main character energy. Miles asks if her late nephew had a high-tech lab where they could build a fresh override key. Aunt May smiles and leads them out back to an unassuming backyard shed that hides a massive secret. The shed opens into a subterranean high-tech spider cave stocked with suits, weapons, and wild gadgetry. Peter B. Parker looks around in absolute envy at how luxurious this dead Peter Parker's setup was. Aunt May solemnly reminds them that her Peter gave everything because he was the only hero standing. She warns them that Kingpin's forces will be heavy, but reveals they aren't the only spiders in town. From the shadows steps Spider-Man Noir, a gritty hard-boiled detective living completely in black and white. Noir drops a dramatic monologue, claiming dramatic wind and the smell of rain constantly follow his every step. His 1930s noir vibes completely throw off Peter B. Parker, who cannot comprehend the art style. Next comes Spider-Ham, an actual cartoon pig bitten by a radioactive spider who loves dropping comedic quips. Noir reveals his backstory of fighting Nazis in 1933 while sipping egg creams in dark alleys. Then futuristic Penny Parker introduces herself and her mech suit SP//DR, straight out of an anime timeline. Noir randomly drops a dark edgy line about burning matches just to feel alive, leaving everyone speechless. Spider-Ham bounces around, introducing himself as a Daily Beagle reporter who always sniffs out the story. Ham literally breaks into a cartoon dance routine, proving this multiverse assembly is certified absurd. The entire Spider Gang huddles up, realizing the only way back home is re-entering Kingpin's Super Collider. However, staying in this dimension for too long will glitch them all into cellular dust. Peter B. Parker volunteers to sacrifice himself and stay behind to blow up the machine so the rest can live. But Miles steps up, declaring he needs to be the one to do it since this is his home dimension. Peter tries to demonstrate Miles's invisibility power to the group, but Miles fails to trigger it under pressure. Peter asks Miles to show off his Venom Shock bioelectricity, but Miles glitches out again. Even though Miles lacks control, Peter B. hypes up the kid's potential to the skeptical Spider Gang. Spider-Man more steps up to test Miles, warning him that Kingpin sends ruthless, heavy-hitting thugs. Miles nervously admits he hasn't actually fought real villains yet, throwing off the entire team. Haney and the rest launch rapid-fire physical and technical tests at Miles in a chaotic gauntlet. Gwen questions if Miles has the agility and grace to dodge lethal attacks under fire. The Spider Gang is putting Miles through absolute boot camp, trying to test if this kid actually has what it takes to save the multiverse. Peter B. Parker is low-key calling him out, straight up telling the team that Miles is nowhere near ready for this level of danger. Miles gets so overwhelmed by the pressure that he accidentally triggers his camo power and vanishes into thin air right in front of them. Meanwhile, Miles's mom leaves him an insanely worried voicemail, begging him to reach out because he's been completely ghosting his family. His dad Jeff even swallows his pride and hits up Uncle Aaron, hoping Aaron knows where his kid disappeared to. Miles leaves his uncle a heartbreaking message, confessing that he's terrified and feels like he's constantly letting everyone down. Cut to the villain lair, where Uncle Aaron tells Kingpin he's reviewing security footage to hunt down the new Spider-Man. Back at Aunt May's house, the team tries to defend Miles, claiming he just needs a moment to process the main character's stress. Suddenly, Miles bursts back into the room looking completely traumatized and drops the ultimate plot twist on the entire crew. He reveals that his beloved Uncle Aaron is literally the Prowler and actively trying to end his life. Before anyone can process this massive bomb, the front door gets blown open because Miles accidentally led Kingpin's goons right to them. Doc Ock and Scorpion crash the crib, ready to turn Aunt May's cozy home into an absolute war zone. Aunt May is not having it, grabbing a baseball bat and demanding these supervillains take their toxic energy outdoors. An insane battle erupts inside the living room as all the alternate spider heroes throw hands to protect Miles. Miles grabs the override key and takes off across the rooftops, but the Prowler is relentless on his tail. Prowler corners Miles on a ledge and pins him down, but when he rips off the mask, his entire soul leaves his body. Miles begs for his life, exposing his identity to the uncle who was supposed to protect him. Aaron stops dead in his tracks, realizing he almost executed his own nephew, but Kingpin is watching from the shadows. When Aaron refuses to kill Miles, Kingpin brutally shoots him in the back without a second thought. With his final breath, Uncle Aaron tells Miles that he's the absolute best of them and to keep fighting no matter what. Miles's dad arrives on the roof right as Prowler collapses, seeing Spider-Man standing over the body and completely misunderstanding the situation. Jeff calls in a citywide APB on the new Spider-Man, thinking this vigilante just murdered his brother. Miles escapes back to his dorm utterly broken, where the Spider Gang tries to comfort him with their own tragic backstories. Peter B. gently explains that losing the people you love is low-key the unavoidable curse of being a hero. They tell Miles he isn't alone in this pain because every single one of them has carried the exact same trauma. Miles is way too overwhelmed to hear it and tries to push everyone away while processing total heartbreak. Miles tries to get back up to fight, but Peter drops a devastating reality check on him. Peter tells Miles that he is benching him for the final mission because he simply isn't battle-ready. Peter decides he's taking Miles's place to sacrifice himself at the Collider so the rest of the gang can escape home. Peter asks for the override key, but Miles clutches it tightly, furious that nobody believes in him. Miles screams that he needs to avenge his uncle, but Peter knows anger will just get the kid killed. Peter tests him on the spot, telling him to use his powers on command, but Miles freezes up under the pressure. Peter webs Miles up in his dorm room for his own safety and hits him with legendary advice: "You never know when you're ready, it's just a leap of faith." Shortly after the gang leaves, Jeff knocks on Miles's dorm door, unaware that his son is tied up inside. Through the locked door, Jeff pours his heart out, apologizing for being so strict and expressing fear that they're drifting apart. He tells Miles that he sees an extraordinary spark inside him and that whatever path he chooses, he's going to be great. This emotional speech gives Miles the ultimate boost of morale and confidence he needed all along. Miles uses his bioelectric venom blast on command, shattering the webs and finally locking in. He sprints straight back to Aunt May's lab, where she hands him his very own customized Spider-Man suit and fresh web shooters. Miles spray paints the suit black and red, officially stepping into his main character arc. Meanwhile, the rest of the Spider Gang infiltrates Fisk Tower during a black-tie gala to reach the underground collider. The gang sneaks into the event dressed as waiters, trying to keep a low profile in front of hundreds of rich guests. Kingpin takes the stage to hypocritically deliver a memorial speech for the original Spider-Man he murdered. Spider-Ham gets offended at Kingpin's speech while the rest of the team tries to lock down their plan. The gang cringes at how Kingpin is exploiting Spider-Man's image for good publicity. Peter B. gets distracted when he suddenly spots the alternate universe version of his ex-wife, Mary Jane. Gwen warns Peter not to do anything stupid, but Peter's emotions completely hijack his brain. Kingpin officially introduces MJ to the crowd, driving Peter B. deeper into his feelings. Gwen forcefully reminds him that this isn't his wife, but Peter goes rogue anyway. Peter disguises himself as a waiter and walks right up to MJ's table, stammering like a total mess. MJ politely asks for extra bread, completely clueless that this sweaty waiter is a Spider-Man from another reality. Peter starts dumping all his real-life marriage regrets onto her while pretending to talk about bread rolls. He promises her the bread she deserves, making the entire interaction awkwardly hilarious. He walks away super dramatic, leaving MJ completely bewildered while the team drags him back to focus. Down in the lab, Doc Ock fires up the super collider, causing structural anomalies to ripple across the entire city. The computer starts scanning for Kingpin's dead family across alternate realities to force them into this dimension. The countdown begins as massive gravitational waves start tearing through New York's skyline. Gwen tries to convince Peter B. not to sacrifice his life, but Peter insists on being the one who stays. Peter prepares to override the portal and blow up the machine after sending everyone else back. He accepts that his final mission is to shut down the collider even if it costs him everything. Suddenly, Doc Ock and the villains drop down from the ceiling, jumping the Spider Gang before they can plug in the key. Peter B. gets surrounded by enemies and tries to stall for time while holding off the villain squad. Out of nowhere, an invisible force blasts the bad guys across the room as Miles makes his legendary entrance. The gang goes insane seeing Miles in his drip-out suit, masterfully controlling his powers like an absolute pro. Seeing Miles step up like a true hero makes Peter B. realize that maybe he actually does want to be a father after all. Kingpin ignores the danger and demands Doc Ock crank the collider to full capacity regardless of consequences. The Spider Squad syncs up seamlessly, calling out enemy movements like a high-level esports team. The sky splits open above NYC, pulling actual buildings and train tracks from other universes right into the city. Spider-Man Noir throws hands with giant mobsters while spitting hilarious old-school 1930s insults. Spider-Ham drops a giant cartoon wooden mallet right onto Scorpion's head, completely disrespecting the villain. Miles flexes his new suit mid-air to Gwen while pulling off jaw-dropping aerial acrobatics. Miles grabs the override key and maneuvers straight into the center of the chaotic energy beam. He plugs in the goober and reverses the portal, opening up safe gateways for his friends to return home. One by one, the alternate spider heroes prepare to jump through the portal back to their respective universes. Spider-Ham says his iconic cartoon farewell before diving into the interdimensional rift. Gwen shares a wholesome moment with Miles, officially solidifying their bond before leaping back to her dimension. Only Peter B. is left, but Kingpin tackles him to the ground to stop him from escaping. Miles refuses to let another Spider-Man die on his watch and flings Peter B. straight toward the portal. As Peter flies into the rift, he worries if he's ready to fix his broken life back home, but Miles reminds him it's just a leap of faith. Miles drops straight into the Super Collider room, bringing absolute main character energy. He swings through the chaotic interdimensional energy like he was born to do this. With the Collider destabilizing reality, Miles locked in on the override switch to shut down Kingpin's machine once and for all. Kingpin gets completely infuriated and vows to end this new Spider-Man on the spot. Suddenly, alternate realities begin overlapping as Kingpin's deceased family flickers into existence. Seeing his wife and son terrified by his violent monster persona breaks Kingpin's heart for a split second. They flee back into the rift, leaving Fisk completely devastated and utterly blind with rage. Miles steps up with zero fear, ready to put an end to the madness right now. Kingpin attacks like a freight train, boasting that the original Spider-Man failed to defeat him. Fisk blames Miles for losing his family again and swings with lethal intent. He brutally slams Miles down, promising that the kid will never see his loved ones again. Pinned under immense weight, Miles hears his father cheering for him from outside the wreckage. Realizing his family's love gives him strength, Miles refuses to stay down. Miles uses Uncle Aaron's legendary slick move to catch Kingpin off guard. He hits Kingpin with a massive bioelectric venom blast that sends the behemoth flying backwards. Kingpin slams right into the override switch, slamming the green button and collapsing the collider. The multiversal portal snaps shut permanently, saving Brooklyn and all of reality from total destruction. With the threat squashed, Miles calls his dad to clear the air about everything that went down. Jefferson opens up to his son, offering to let him express his street art on a legal wall. Their wholesome father-son heart-to-heart proves that their bond is stronger than ever. Moments later, Miles confronts his dad while wearing his custom black and red Spider-Man suit. Officer Davis accepts Spider-Man as Brooklyn's savior, even if he doesn't officially approve of vigilantes. Miles casually blurts out an "I love you" to his dad before swinging up into the skyline. Jefferson stands there low-key confused by Spidey's awkward affection while finding Kingpin webbed up like a present. Miles swings around New York City, fully owning his brand new identity with supreme confidence. He gives us his own version of the classic Spider-Man monologue. Miles recites how he got bitten by that radioactive spider and had his whole life flipped upside down. In just 2 crazy days, he transformed into Brooklyn's sole protector. He saved countless lives, mastered his powers, and finally finished his late school essay. He bonded with his dad over graffiti art and met the coolest roommate ever. He even slapped his signature sticker in a hidden spot where his dad will never catch it. Whenever Miles feels overwhelmed or isolated, he remembers his interdimensional spider friends. Knowing that other heroes across dimensions believe in him gives him endless courage. Miles admits he never imagined he could become a hero, but he pulled it off anyway. He drops the most inspirational realization of the entire story for the audience. Miles reminds every single person watching that anyone has the power to step up and be a hero. If you didn't believe in yourself before, Miles hopes you see your own potential now. He officially declares himself Spider-Man while knowing he is part of a much bigger multiverse. As Miles relaxes on his dorm bed, a dimensional portal suddenly opens right above him. Gwen's voice calls out through the rift, proving their multiversal bond is far from over. The credits roll to an unbelievable soundtrack, but the post-credits cooked up something legendary. We even get a hilarious Christmas album snippet of Peter Parker complaining about singing Spidey bells. Cut to New York, where futuristic Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara, returns to his lab. His holographic AI assistant Lila tease roasts him for being fashionably late. Miguel double-checks to make sure the multiverse didn't collapse during the Kingpin crisis. Lila confirms reality is stable, but reveals she finished building his multiversal jump device. Miguel low-key hates when she calls his high-tech invention a goober. He corrects her that it is an advanced dimensional gizmo designed for targeted leaps. Miguel prepares to become the very first person to complete a safe, controlled multiverse jump. Lila asks him where he wants to test out his brand new gizmo first. Miguel decides to head straight back to where animated Spider-Man all began. He warps straight into Earth 67, landing right inside the classic 1967 cartoon universe. Retro Spider-Man gets instantly startled by this gritty futuristic spider guy jumping into his frame. Miguel tries to explain that he came from the future on an urgent multiversal mission. Instead of listening, Retro Spidey points his finger aggressively at Miguel. Miguel calls him out for pointing, but Retro Spidey claims Miguel started it. They instantly devolve into a petty shouting match over who pointed at who first. Neither of them refuses to back down, recreating the legendary Spider-Man pointing meme in full glory. A random police officer nearby watches both Spider-Men arguing like toddlers in complete disbelief. The cop points out that Spider-Man definitely pointed first, making the situation even funnier. Miguel gets super irritated trying to prove he was just explaining the pointing. Retro Spidey tells him to look at his own finger because he is literally pointing right now. The hilarious argument rolls on, setting up an insanely hypotastic future for the Spider-Verse franchise. Miles Morales proved that taking a leap of faith is all it takes to unlock your true potential. From incredible animation to unmatched character growth, this film stands as an absolute masterpiece. Seeing Miles step into Peter Parker's shoes and make the mantle his own was peak cinema. Which alternate Spider-Man was your absolute favorite throughout this wild recap? Let me know your thoughts in the comments because I love chatting with you guys. If you enjoyed this detailed breakdown, hit that like button to support the channel. Don't forget to smash subscribe and ring the bell notification icon right now. Subscribing ensures you never miss our upcoming recaps of the hype sequels. Share this video with your Marvel crew so everyone can relive this legendary movie. Thanks for watching, stay awesome, and I will see you all in the next epic recap.